Hey guys, thanks for joining me this week on For All Things Lexington. It's the only show dedicated to Lexington, South Carolina. Here, you'll hear me talk to people, groups, bands, and organizations about where to go, what to do, and who's who in and all around our beautiful Lake Murray. I'm your host, Angela Barrett, and this is For All Things Lexington.
The For All Things Lexington podcast has been brought to you in part by Bub'n Mutha's Gourmet Rubs.
Bub'n Mutha's ain't your average gourmet rub company. We're a veteran-owned business. We believe in real food, which is why our spice blends are 100% natural with no added preservatives and award-winning flavor. Find all the flavors at bubnmuthas.com. Support vets and your taste buds today.
Hey guys, I've got with me today on Talking South Carolina, John Furhman. Did I say that right?
You did.
All right. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being here and letting me know about your great product that you have. Because you're everywhere. I looked at where all you sell your stuff and you're everywhere.
We're trying.
Yeah. Yeah. You're doing a great job. So, the product is Bub'n Mutha's, right? You can say
Yes,
it like
it
you
is.
say it.
Bub'n Mutha's.
But Bub'n Mutha's. I see. I'm not from Maine, so I can't.
That's
say
all right.
it. I can say it Southern.
Yeah, we're going to give lessons on how to be a Mainer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So tell everybody exactly what Bub'n Mutha's is.
So Bub'n Mutha's we call it a gourmet dry rub. I'll explain that. But it's handcrafted small batch, which, if you go to a liquor store if you like bourbon, you want a small batch. But what makes it gourmet are a couple of things. One, everything in it is natural. We don't have silicone dioxide or some of the other things that other rubs put in. We use a lot less salt. I'm not telling you that because we're health food. We put this on fatty meat. So it's
I've seen the pictures.
Yeah. But the idea of using less salt is heavy and it's inexpensive. So, other rubs can put more salt in their bottle. It'll weigh more, but on ours, you're going to get the paprika, the garlic, whatever other flavors we put in there. So you've got more of the spices that we blend. And we've got a sign here. It says salt is for taste, not filling. And some of them, not all, some of them have as much as a third of their bottle is just salt.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you do have to look at some of those ingredients on the back if you have to worry about those kinds of things, salt and anything else for that matter. But
Yeah.
So how many different rubs do you have right now?
Currently, there are 9 flavors that
Oh, cool. Well, I looked.
let's cover everything.
And I have a request. I want you to come up with a Chipotle ranch. There was a restaurant.
Chipotle ranch.
Yeah. Chipotle ranch. And
Okay.
there was a restaurant here that we had it. It was, I guess, their recipe. We loved their
Okay.
wings. They closed and took the recipe with them. So
Wow.
there is my request.
It's, believe it or not, that's how a lot of our flavors come to be. Not just one person requesting, but people that have that idea for a flavor. Our whole first year in business, we only had one flavor.
Which was what?
Our Down East Dinner Dust, which is, again, a take on Maine. It's got maple syrup crystals in it instead of brown sugar, fresh roasted espresso, blueberry powder. And even with that flavor, and actually, we tell people we might have a museum. So this little bottle, right? I mean, I made the labels on my computer. These things are totally not up to label code or whatever.
Right.
you know, what does it say on here? You know, for meat rubbed right, it's the main thing. And what happened was we did a bunch of fairs and things, and people bought it. And Maine is a big tourist state. In fact, I used to sit on my porch and watch all the South Carolina, North Carolina, and Texas license plates drive by because it's much cooler in the summer.
Right.
And
You got good lobster.
And we've been known to have that. Yes. In fact, I literally was 3 blocks from the lobster boats coming in. So yeah,
Right.
we had that often. But a lot of the tourist vacationers would come buy their rubs, and literally that sustained the company in the wintertime when, you know, a lot of our stores in Maine are like, well, it's not barbecue season, so we're not going to have that. And then they started saying, geez, do you have anything with a little bit more spice to it? Do you have something with a little bit of, and our second flavor came, which was honey and heat. And we used chipotle and honey. And those 2 flavors carried us literally for 4.5 years.
Yeah.
And we grew, we were in stores throughout New England. And then space, we needed bigger space. And up in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, just as an example, the ground is so filled with granite, there's no gas lines. So your primary heat is oil.
Right.
And to get an idea of what oil heat costs, it's about the same price as diesel.
Wow.
And, you know, when prices really spiked a few years back, it would have cost me $1,200 a month to heat the space I was in. And it just, you know, as a small business, that's just not sustainable.
Sure.
So my daughter had been down here in Blythewood for a number of years. And she said, why don't you take a look down here? And I said, you know, that's a really big move. It's big enough just move an individual, but to move a whole company. So we came down Thanksgiving of 2022, found a broker, looked at some properties, and we're like, you know what, this could work. So we moved in January of 23, actually New Year's weekend coming into 2023. And we've been here since.
Yes.
And
In
literally
Lexington, no doubt.
in Lexington, yeah. And
My home.
Is it? Well, you can go right over to Publix and get all the rub you want.
Right.
But that allowed us not only the space, but to really start having room to play with flavors. And literally in a year and a half, we added the other 7 flavors. And the stores have been very receptive. You know, we started at Soda City, did all the pop-up markets we could.
Yeah.
And that was kind of our hook. We would do an event over a weekend and maybe sell 100 bottles and then say to the local supermarkets, hey, we just sold 100 bottles to your customers. You think you might want to try some? And, you know, here we are. End of July, we do our first delivery to 163 Food Lion stores. So we'll be in every Food Lion in the state.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
One of the sections I check out at the grocery stores when I'm there, or where it has all the local, which is always pretty cool. And most grocery stores have that section somewhere.
Yes, they do.
Big grocery store or small grocery store. But yeah, pretty interesting. How did y'all get started? How did this come to be?
Well, I literally, I've been in sales my entire career. The last 15 years, I was training people in sales. So I would go company to company,
Right.
A lot of it in the auto industry, some of it in the software industry. And, you know, traveling on somebody else's dime is wonderful until it isn't, right? And then
Right.
you're like, I don't want to go anywhere anymore. So I was born in Winter Harbor, Maine. I grew up outside of that area, but about 11 years ago, I returned. And I was like, okay, this is it, last stop, you know. And when I walked away from the corporate world, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Because there's only 450 people in town, and the restaurants and a lot of the shops after Columbus Day close. So, I mean, you talk about quiet, it's quiet. And I like to read, but I like ice cream too, and I can't have it 3 meals a day. So it's like, and one of the things that I learned, I used to do a little bit of writing, and they always said, write what you know. And I'm like, well, that probably applies to everything. Do what you know, do what you know. And I'm going, well, what the heck do I know? I don't really want to be involved in training anymore. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. I lived in North Carolina, part of a career move for 5 years. And just like South Carolina, there's more barbecue joints than 7-Elevens. So, like everybody else, you pick and you find your favorite wood, whatever that's going to be.
Sure.
And when you, even there, when you're near the coast, it's touristy. So in the school months, things kind of quiet down, but I'm still going back to the restaurant. They get to know you. I meet the chef. He brings me back and he said, well, here's how we blend our stuff. Right. And I just started fooling with it. So I was like, what could be a really good marketing idea? I know. Let's start a barbecue company in a lobster village on the Maine coast. People will either think we're idiots or it's really good stuff.
Right.
And fortunately for us, it's been the latter. My biggest thrill is when people send a message, go, we just put this on X, and oh my gosh, right. It's so good. And that's what keeps us going.
So now, tell me, I've seen some of the pictures, obviously any sort of pork, I've seen something about a hamburger, but there's also a little rumor about cocktails. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Wasn't my idea. There's a restaurant up in Maine, near where I live, called the Pickled Wrinkle. Pickled Wrinkle is a pickled wrinkle.
Okay.
A pickled wrinkle is actually a shellfish that's prepared a certain way.
Okay.
I wouldn't eat it, but people like it. Anyway, because they were the only restaurant open 12 months a year in the area, you become a regular. And I became very friendly with the owners and the cooks and stuff. So when we got started, when we had the 2 flavors, the dinner dust and the honey and heat, right. I just gave them some, said, here, try them. And interestingly, they never cooked with them. So they took the, here we go, the honey and heat.
Uh-huh.
And tequila, Grand Marnier, margarita mix, sprinkle the honey and heat on the ice, shake it, rim the glass with the honey and heat, and that's a barbecue margarita.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I had down on the coast where they've put in like an Old Bay or something like an Old Bay, mm-hmm. and done it with Bloody Mary. But that's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Bloody Mary because we want to give them a shout out too. So our Down East Dinner Dust, they actually still have Bloody Mary nights where they do Bloody Mary. Now, the difference, if you're going to use a rub, and obviously the Dinner Dust works because it's not overly spicy. It's pretty mild, but you get the sweet of the maple, a little bit of coffee. You can't use a Bloody Mary mix. And the reason, whether it's our rub or somebody else's, Bloody Mary mixes are salt heavy. So if you take a rub that's salt infused, it's like drinking the ocean. It's really not very good. So you can use pure tomato juice. If you are into coastal and seafood, you can use Clamato.
Yeah.
And if you're a Mainer, you can get pure lobster bisque and make your Bloody Mary that way. So, yeah. And I think that between you and I that with some of these new flavors, I think there's going to be some new cocktails.
Yeah. Now, what is Chicks Dig It?
Hopefully what they say to me. But so
Love it.
Chicks Dig It. Again, coming back to what I said earlier about customers telling us, as we grew in popularity, people were like, what can I put on chicken? Right? Well, you can put the Down East Dinner Dust or no. Do you have anything specific for chicken? And or do you have anything specific for pork or beef or whatever? And they kept hammering on it. And I'm like, you know what? Rather than change their mind, let's see what we come up with. And I was kind of like, man, chicken and waffles is kind of a cool Southern thing. So let me see what I can do with that. So we took, our base, which is paprika, garlic, onion, salt, pepper, and then we add whatever flavorings we want to it. So the waffle thing, we added the maple syrup crystals. And then for the smoke, right, we added just a bit of chili, so you get a smoky flavor in your chicken. And again, part of that was Maine inspired because end of January through most of February, not only do we not grill, we really don't go outside a lot. It's very cold. Yeah, it's really cold. So it's like, well, okay, I've got to come up with something that's going to provide, obviously, the flavor, a little bit of the smokiness, and not have to go outside.
Right.
So the smoky paprika, the chili, it's like a double dose of smoke without having to go to artificial stuff like liquid smoke. Same thing with the dinner dust. And we've got a couple of recipes for the Chicks Dig It on the site, but really on a nasty day when you don't really want to go outside, I'm a thigh guy.
Yeah.
Chicken thighs, I just lay them on a baking sheet, put my Chicks Dig It on it, put it in the oven at 250 for 2 hours, and it's perfect. You don't even have to open the oven. Just at the end of 2 hours,
Nice.
Take it out and eat. So you get the great flavor, you get that barbecue stuff, and you didn't have to go outside in bad weather.
And so I know I'd seen somewhere about you being a big advocate, again, of people who can't grill outside. Let's talk about people's in apartment or condos, things of that nature. So those two rubs we know would be good for indoor baking recipes. I mean, probably all of them, depending on how it's done. But those specifically because of the smokiness, right?
Yep. Yeah. Basically, anything that you can do on a grill or a smoker, you can do low and slow in your oven if you have the time and the inclination. I mean, obviously, now that I live down here, we do as much outside as we can because
Right.
I love it when you guys get all hunkered down in your down coats and everything, and it's like 45 degrees. I think that's funny.
Well,
but
I'm cold if it's below 70. So
yeah, listen, and my daughter adjusted well. She's been down here, and in the house, she's got sweats on.
Me too.
Right. Yeah. So my blood has not thinned out yet. Probably won't, but I don't really mind the heat, especially if I'm outside cooking. But again, you have rain. You
Sure.
have if it's 100 degrees outside, maybe you don't want to go outside and cook, but you want ribs. You want, I can make a pulled pork in my oven that will taste basically the same as whatever you do on your smoker. I won't have a smoke ring. Okay.
Right.
But smoke rings, which are wonderful to look at, are really for competition more than for cooking. I mean, when you go to a barbecue restaurant, you're really not looking for the smoke ring. You're looking to eat.
Right.
and that one of the celebrity barbecue experts that I got to work with a little bit, I was asking him all kinds of questions because I could flavor the meat, but I couldn't tell the difference between a money muscle and a money clip, and I must have annoyed him because he finally just stopped. He said, look, there's only two kinds of barbecue on God's green earth. competition where you got to follow all the rules and eat. And if you like what you're eating, don't take my advice. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, you know what? That's a really good answer. It takes all the pressure off. How do I do this? How do I do that? You already know what you like before you meet me. All I'm going to do is change a little bit of the flavor on it for you. But other than that, the consistency and all that, you already know how to do it. You know, so I just tell people that. A lot of people come up and go, oh, I'd really like to try your rubs, but I don't have a smoker. So what?
Right.
You know, you can, I mean, some of our rubs, the honey and heat, for example, I use it on eggs.
Huh.
I make my omelets with it, right? If I'm going to make chicken tenders,
Right.
I just put it in the flour.
Yeah. Well, we do a lot of, blackened, but sometimes we've used other rubs that have that little bit of heat, or a lot of heat, because we like heat, and used it on fish or, baked chicken or whatever, in the oven. Right. Sure.
My brother is a big salmon guy. And no matter how he cooks it, whether he bakes it, broils it, grills it, poaches it, he puts the honey and heat on.
Yeah.
I can tell you if you wanted to just be kick butt salmon, you drizzle olive oil, put your thumb on.
Right.
Yeah. Do that with bourbon. Just a few drops. You don't need a lot. Just a few drops of bourbon on it. Then put the rub. What'll happen is the bourbon's going to cook off, but it's going to give that salmon a lot of smokiness. Yes. And then the honey and heat is going to give you the flavor. So, and whitefish. I mean, any whitefish at all, but what we've done is we've got one of our new flavors, and this is mud bug boil and crab coating. So this is like an Old Bay that's gone off the rails. So
Old Bay on crack.
Old Bay on crack. But like my sister-in-law is Maryland born and raised and makes the best lump crab cakes ever. And I had her make some up, and we put the mud bug boil on them, and people just went crazy. They just went crazy.
Yeah.
And over the last few years, it's taught me that barbecue is pretty steady. I mean, if you can cook ribs or pork or whatever, okay.
Right.
But if you can make great side dishes, you're going to have good barbecue.
Right.
And to me, since I've started to believe that, that's what I look for in a barbecue restaurant. Because I figure if they've been open for 2 weeks, they know how to make ribs. They know how to make pulled pork. So what's going to separate them from the next guy? And it's always, for me, the side dish.
Sides. Yeah. Good macaroni and cheese if you're down here.
Good mac and cheese. Yep. Yep. Oh, I love it. I mean, I make an amazing mac and cheese, but what puts it over the top is the trimmings. And what I mean is, let's just say we're having ribs. Competition, you like to square them off. You're cutting off pieces of meat. And usually that's discarded. I put it in a pile and put it on the smoker while I'm making the ribs. And then I chop that up after it's all cooked and seasoned. And I mix it in the mac and cheese.
Ew.
And leftovers. If I'm cooking a big brisket, whatever's left over, we chop it up the next day and we put it in mac and cheese.
Huh.
So, it's not a secret recipe. You already have the stuff.
Right.
Right. And what it does is it turns mac and cheese from a side dish into a meal.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, how many of your rubs and which ones have won or competitions, and how many are those?
So, the big three winners, the Honey and Heat has won a few times at the International Flavor Awards. The Dinner Dust won at the International Flavor Awards. At our cooks, Hog Heaven is a big winner. because, it seems down here, South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, everybody's cooking pork.
Right.
They're not doing brisket competitions. But up in, we sponsor 3 teams. We have one here in South Carolina, one in Missouri, and another one up in Iowa. Now, the Iowa ones are doing beef, so they use our son of a brisket to season their beef. But they all are using one of our rubs that actually surprised me. I never even thought we would have the chance to make it. When I came here, I visited some barbecue places, of course, and I've been other places, and they were like, "We have mustard sauce," and I'd be like, "I'm gonna."
Yeah, I'm not a mustard sauce girl.
So I had mustard sauce when I came down. I finally said, "You know what? I'm gonna live here. I got to try it." And I tried it. I was like, "Wow, okay, that really makes a difference." So I started going to the stores. You want to check out what are you going to compete against, and there was not a single mustard-based dry rub.
Right.
So that's how we came up with Carolina Gold.
Yeah, I saw that.
And what's unique for us, it's the exact same ingredient as a South Carolina mustard sauce in powder form. Okay. Which is why it took 6 months. We had to find somebody that manufactured powdered apple cider vinegar, powdered Worcestershire sauce. Those are staples.
Right.
The only thing we did different is our sweet is honey.
Right.
Other than that, this is a very traditional, and that's why on the label we say we're the unofficial mustard rub for South Carolina.
Right.
We claimed it.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking for it. I haven't tried it until you reached out. I'll be the first to say, didn't know it existed, but now I'm glad I do, because I don't like to get my hands all messy with the wet stuff. So I like dry rubs. And
well, I'll give you
a
a quick dry rub tip that because a lot of guys put it on there and then they're patting it in. Don't get that messy. Sweat your meat. So what that means is just take your one side of whatever it is you're cooking, put the rub on. I usually just lay a paper towel over it, right? And just let it sit for a while. When you open it up, you'll see that the meat is sweat through, and now that rub's going to stick. So when you flip it, it's not going to fall off.
Right.
Then just flip it over and do the same thing.
Yeah.
It does keep your hands clean, so you're not.
Oh, I meant when I was eating, like a lot of people like all the sauces and things like that. Yeah, I'm more of a dry rub girl.
I get it. And it's funny. There are very few places that I've been in the whole state that you can order dry.
Right.
They all want to put their sauce on it. I like the places they serve it to you dry and they have sauces on the table and do with it as you will. And we have recipes on the website to use our rubs to make your own sauce, and the flavoring obviously is whichever one you choose. But yeah, I'm just dry.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to get especially if you're cooking it low and slow, the fat is going to render through, and that's going to make it nice and moist. You don't need the sauce for that, and sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes that sauce is like, I'm eating sauce.
Yeah. Right.
Because you're not getting the flavors that you want. And that's really important.
Yeah. So, I know that you are in several of the different grocery stores here locally, as well as many other places I saw that are on your website. But you can also order, and tell everybody how to do that.
Yeah. You go on the website, www.bubnmothers.com. And what's cool is there's a spot where it lists every place we are.
Yeah.
So if that's convenient for you, you can certainly go there. If it's not, you can certainly order on the web. The important thing this time of year is we're on our Memorial Day to Veteran Day run. And what that is we're a veteran-owned company. We do everything we can to support veterans. So each year since the year we started, we go from Memorial Day to Veterans Day, and a portion of every single sale goes to veteran charities. And the last couple of years it's been pretty good. In fact, the last year in Maine, we were able to donate $2,500 to the Maine Veterans Project,
Nice.
which they were able to use for heating oil for veterans who couldn't afford it to get through a Maine winter. So our goal this year is $5,000. We're going to split it in half. We'll pick a local South Carolina veteran charity and one national charity as well.
Yeah.
So those are from web sales.
And so when you go online to order, you can donate to that, or you're just saying that
They don't
proceeds.
Part of the proceeds. Yeah.
Nice.
I learned a long time ago, people started sending money. Okay. And I had to send it back going, I can't accept money. I'm not a charity. I'm a commercial business. So you just buy the stuff and, we'll send it. The nice thing is, excuse me, we've got some packages, where you can buy bunches of rubs, save a few dollars. And we have our barbecue pack, which is 6 flavors. Every one of those we sell, $5 goes right into the kitty. And then now that we have 9 flavors, we have this big giant, you can't see it. It's called the Pitmaster Pack. It's got all 9 flavors in it. And we donate every one of those that's sold. We donate $7.50. So, it's funny having those two, I think gives us the most hope to reach our goals and be able to help veterans.
Yeah. Well, what a great way to do it. And from all the reviews I've read, and great products, and I'm looking forward to trying it, and maybe even looking forward to that Chipotle Ranch that you might. And if you need me, I'm right down the road from you, I think. So if you need me to come and do
test it out.
Test, yeah.
You know what? We appreciate all the volunteer help we can get.
Yeah, when it comes to eating, I'll absolutely do it.
That's right. Yeah, it's a skill.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And this was a pleasure, and I'm glad to learn about your products, and it was so nice to meet you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you guys and your whole crew and all your support people that helped put this together. And, we'll do it again when we have another Chipotle Ranch or something.
Yeah. Let's do. Thanks a lot.
I'll give you credit. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for hanging out with me today, and I hope you enjoyed the show. If you'd like to be a guest on the show or know someone you'd like to see on the show, contact me at forallthingslexington.com. That's the number 4, allthingslexington.com.
The For All Things Lexington podcast has been brought to you in part by Bub'n Mutha's Gourmet Rubs.
Bub'n Mutha's ain't your average gourmet rub company. We're a veteran-owned business. We believe in real food, which is why our spice blends are 100% natural with no added preservatives and award-winning flavor. Find all the flavors at bubnmuthas.com. Support vets and your taste buds today.
And by Angela Barrett at HomeMattersSC.com. Building on what matters to you.